Number 7. Tiffany Henderson. In December of 2019, aspiring Houston rapper Tavoris Henderson, aged 21, was arrested and charged with capital murder in the death of Nassau Bay Police Sergeant Kayla Sullivan. The 43-year-old officer was assisting in a traffic stop after Henderson's Jeep had been pulled over for speeding through an apartment complex. Sullivan initiated the arrest when it emerged that the man had an outstanding warrant for domestic violence. As he was being handcuffed, Henderson managed to break free from the arresting officers and got back behind the wheel of his Jeep. The man would later admit to the police that he knew Sullivan was still partially inside the vehicle when he started to drive off. The sergeant was dragged beneath the Jeep, then ran over and killed. Henderson, who performed under the rap name Killer Dre, went on the run, sparking a manhunt during the course of which the murder vehicle was found abandoned. The police, assisted by a SWAT team, questioned his mother, Tiffany, who initially claimed that she didn't even know him, before eventually feigning ignorance regarding his whereabouts. However, it would later emerge that Henderson had called Tiffany shortly after running the policewoman over. She and her boyfriend then helped him hide. About half an hour before she'd lied to the officers, surveillance cameras showed Tiffany picking her son up and dropping him off at a hotel. A tip to Crime Stoppers of Houston subsequently led to his arrest, and, in a presumed symbolic gesture, officers reportedly used Sullivan's handcuffs to restrain him. He was charged with murder, while Tiffany, who maintained that her son was innocent, was charged with hindering apprehension alongside her boyfriend. Number 6. Khadijah Senna. On August 13th of 2017, Khadijah Senna contacted the police in El Paso, Texas, claiming that her 2013 Dodge Dart had been stolen. 21-year-old Senna filed the report at 7:35, alleging that the theft had occurred in the 200 block of Cincinnati Avenue in West El Paso. However, investigators later found that she'd called the police for assistance roughly 5 hours earlier on the same day while she was in a construction area on a freeway. They found the Dodge in a dirt pile in the 700 block of Executive Center and determined that it had been involved in a crash. Senna had presumably hoped her initial call would be disregarded if she reported the vehicle stolen, which the police concluded it never had been. The woman was arrested and booked into El Paso County Jail on a $4,000 bond after being charged with filing a false report to a peace officer and perjury. Number 5. John and Jonatina Barksdale. In March of 2022, two siblings were charged in Manhattan federal court over a multi-million-dollar cryptocurrency scam. The Securities and Exchange Commission separately charged John and Jonatina Tina Barksdale, both in their 40s, with conducting fraudulent unregistered offerings of Ormeas coin. Both were US citizens, although at the time of the investigation, John was living in Thailand and his sister in Hong Kong. The SEC found that the siblings had lied about the value and profitability of Ormeas coin, including that the coin was backed by a massive mining operation, generating more than $5 million of monthly revenue. They'd advertised their fraudulent operation through social media and in-person roadshows, but also a giant Times Square video display proclaiming that the backbone of the coin was a $250 million mining farm. Between January of 2017 and October of 2021, the Barksdales had made over $124 million by lying to at least 20,000 investors from all over the world through their multi-level marketing company, Ormeas Global SA. They'd used their illicit gains on travel, real estate, and other personal expenses. The SEC concluded that the siblings had acted as modern-day snake oil salesmen, and prosecutors alleged they'd abandoned their mining operations in 2019. To promote their fraudulent activity, they'd used a photo of a mining facility in Montana that was operated by a third party. They'd also arranged for their website to display the Bitcoin wallet of an unknown individual as the Ormeas Reserve Vault, boasting $190 million in assets as of November 2021. In reality, Ormeas wallets were worth less than $500,000. According to the Justice Department, John faced spending 64 years, essentially the rest of his life, in prison, if convicted on all the charges levied against him, which included securities fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy. No attorneys for the Barksdales had been identified as of the latest updates on the matter. Number 4. Morgan Quinn. Model Morgan Quinn who'd appeared on the first season of reality TV show Project Runway, filed a report with the New York Police Department on August 7th of 2013. Designers on the show had dubbed Quinn Morganza, as her antics, which included being late, damaging outfits, and frequent emotional outbursts, would constantly disrupt the competition. In her report, 30-year-old Quinn told the police that she'd been pushed inside a Murray Hill building and held at knife point by a tall homeless man. The suspect then reportedly threw her down the stairs and made off with her Chanel purse and a cocktail ring that was inside it, which Quinn claimed was worth over $2,000. The police did discover her empty purse about a week later, but after reviewing all the footage from surveillance cameras in the area, found no evidence of the mugging and charged Quinn with filing a false report on August 23rd. The model battled the charge in court and at one point during her ensuing appearances, jokingly claimed, "I'll join the NYPD once this gets dismissed." Prosecutors eventually determined that the mugging had occurred, but not in the manner in which she reported it to the police. The crux of the matter remained that Quinn had greatly exaggerated the value of the stolen property. She was offered an adjournment in contemplation of dismissal in October of 2014, which she accepted. The model had to complete 1 day of community service and keep herself out of legal trouble for 6 months for the charges to be dropped. In an ironic twist, Quinn herself would be charged with petit larceny and possession of stolen property in the 5th degree in November of 2015, after being accused of stealing makeup and sunglasses from a friend's handbag and then lying about it. Number 3. Evgeny Markov. Following her divorce, Russian snowboarder and skier Irina Kozlova had begun dating Evgeny Markov, a man who'd presented himself as a successful businessman. In December of 2017, Markov told the woman that he wanted to surprise her and asked her to choose a romantic place. 34-year-old Kozlova opted for a scenic viewpoint overlooking the Yenisei River in the village of Ustmana, near the Siberian city of Krasnoyarsk. She drove Markov there in her Mini Cooper and upon arrival was asked to close her eyes for the surprise. Kozlova did as instructed, at which point Markov pulled out a knife and began stabbing her relentlessly, delivering at least 88 strikes to her head and body. The authorities found her corpse covered in lacerations inside the Mini Cooper. Shortly thereafter, 34-year-old Markov was arrested at a local restaurant as he was calmly having dinner, seemingly unshaken by the horrific crime he'd earlier carried out. Investigators later stated that he'd immediately confessed to the killing, also revealing his motive for it. Markov reported that his victim had found out that he'd lied and was actually a car washer, not a businessman. She'd purportedly laughed at Markov over his fiction, thus triggering his murderous rage. Today's topic was requested by Instagram followers Izzy Glover, 18, and Kai Oliver. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below, or follow us on Instagram and reach out to us there. Number 2. Joshua Witt. In August of 2017, a Colorado man reported that he'd been stabbed by an anti-fascist in Sheridan, blaming his haircut, which he suggested made him look like a white supremacist. The incident occurred in the context of multiple Antifa protests in the US and a growing trend of people attacking those they'd suspected of harboring extremist views. Aside from alerting local police, 26-year-old Joshua Witt also shared the story with his followers on social media. He uploaded photos of a bloody gash in his hand and blood smeared on his car. Witt claimed that his attacker had intended to stab him in the head with a pocket knife, adding that he'd managed to defend himself because of his good reflexes. He expressed outrage over the unprovoked attack, emphasizing his innocence by noting that there were no signs of him being affiliated with any extremist movement. The authorities launched an investigation into the matter, but after reviewing surveillance footage corresponding to the location and timeline of the stabbing, found no suspect fleeing from the scene, as Witt had stated in his initial police interviews. What they did find was a recording of Witt leaving a nearby sporting goods store after purchasing a small knife. Upon being questioned again, Witt admitted that he'd accidentally cut himself with the knife in his car and that he'd made up the story about the attack. He was arrested and released on a summons for false reporting. It wasn't made immediately clear if he'd lied solely for attention or to drum up negative reactions to the Antifa movement. Number 1. Vinath Odumsine. Vinath Odumsine of Dublin, Georgia was charged with wire fraud in October of 2021 after it emerged that he'd lied to get an $85,000 COVID-19 relief loan. Odumsine had filed an application in July to the Small Business Administration's Economic Injury Disaster Loan. He falsely claimed to be the owner of an entertainment services business employing 10 people and which annually grossed $235,000 in revenue. Once the loan was approved, Odumsine used the bulk of his payout, an estimated $57,000, to purchase a single Pokemon trading card. The items had recently become high-valued commodities among collectors, with influencer Logan Paul famously paying $150,000 for a card featuring the dragon-like character Charizard. Odumsine, a man in his early 30s, had purchased a card of the same character, which was a mint-condition first edition released in 1999. Once he faced the legal consequences associated with his lying, the card was seized by the FBI. Odumsine risked a maximum penalty of up to 20 years in prison and a fine of $250,000. He eventually pleaded guilty to a single count of wire fraud and in March of 2022 was sentenced to 3 years in prison and fined $10,000. Thanks for watching. Would you rather have perfect recall or the reflexes of a professional athlete? Let us know in the comments section below.